Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? My stream didn't load on my other screen, so hold just one moment, please. I'm a little slow getting set up. I'm sorry. All right. Welcome, Melnetti, Living Free Zip Code List, Superman Statue Cam, Thrifty Angela, Nomadic Hippie, K&R Destinations, WH Ranch number 1. Hello and welcome. The dry campers. Hello, hello. Our epic RV adventure. Hi. Are we talking about a previous murder or planning one? Hey, Hitch Up in Tow. Uncle Lisa's Productions, Camping Therapy, Avenger RV Adventure, RV Ashes in April, Traveling Salvation. Don't want to miss anybody. Posh Kids Camping, Vanderella, Slow Momentum, Meant to Be. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. And I think I said Camping Therapy and Hitch Up and Tow, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to say it again. Hello. So I thought I would give a little health update. I've been missing my morning streams, and that kind of stinks because I really, really like my morning streams. But real quick, just so I kind of cover it with everybody, my lungs have been feeling more tight in my rib cage, so it's causing a little bit more pain than usual. Went to the doctor today and I had an x-ray done, and it's a little bit more than it was before. I'm just going to stay on the medication I'm on and lots of rest and just kind of letting my body and the medicine do its thing. But if I'm not in the morning streams like I like to be, it really stinks for me, and I wish I was there. But sometimes I'm just too tired and don't feel up to it. So I apologize if I'm missing my morning streams, but I'll do my best to be there if I can. So I don't like talking about that stuff, but I know there's a lot of you that are super caring and kind and check in on me and stuff. So I wanted to update everybody real quick. And then I wanted to talk about, one, the story that we've been writing this week, and two, the Burger Chef murders. Burger Chief. Burger Chef. Burger Chief. Chef. I don't know. Those murders. I didn't even know that restaurant existed until someone told me about it. So I'm really interested in kind of covering that. Wait a minute. Why did the Nightbot time out Traveling Salvation? What is going on, Nightbot? No. Nightbot needs to be shut off. And everybody just give me 1 second to shut Nightbot off. I don't know why it did that. Hold on just 1 second. Let me go in and make it stop. I'm sorry. She did 4 hearts and that crazy thing flipped out on her. Oh, hang on. Let me shut Nightbot off. This is the first time I had it on there, and I'm already not liking it. Don't time out, my friends. Hold on 1 second. Get rid of it. All right. We shouldn't have any problems with Nightbot anymore. Barbaric. It sure was. All right. Let me go up and read some of these comments. Ooh, Superman has a friend that's a newspaper reporter. Would that be Lois Lane by chance? Thank you all for the prayers and hearts. I appreciate it very much. Oh, I know my health's more important than streams on YouTube, but the streams on YouTube actually make me feel better. They just brighten my day when I get to do the morning streams. Thrifty Angela, gotta take care of yourself. Thank you, I appreciate that. Nightbot, you meanie, you're gone now. Vanderilla, Kyle is mad at me again. He wants to go magnet fishing. Aw. That bot is barbaric. Well, the bot was set up where I didn't say anything about emojis, but I guess I'll have to go back in and check. It was just supposed to be set up to like every 10 to 15 minutes, ask everybody to like the stream and then drop a specific link. But I need to play with the settings a little more. Somebody said, who murdered a burger? Oh, Hitch Up and Toe said, who murdered a burger? Nursing our travel bug, hey. Okay, and our destinations, 5 days. 5 days. And nursing our travel bug tomorrow. Hello, Crystal. Okay, so the things we have to work on is I'm going to read a story really quick, and this is everybody kind of knows about the stories, but I'll explain it real quick. In my lives, we have the opportunity to write a story together, and everybody can add a line to the story whenever they want to in the live stream, or they can add it in the comment section. So this is this week's story, and if you want to add a sentence to it, just put S and then start your sentence so I know you want to add a sentence to it. But here's the story for this week. Now, mind you, this was written by everybody in the chat. I had nothing to do with this. I'm just saying that because this story is pretty embarrassing. Woke up this morning to see my beautiful friend Bibi. She glowed with all the radiance of the sun. I decided to invite her for pancake taco breakfast. We sat together drinking our coffees when all of a sudden the restaurant started shaking. I caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye and I lost it at that point. My world would never be the same. I was in love with that butt. It was as if the moon came to earth. I had to take that one small step as I gasped for air. I knew the first time I saw her that an angel had fallen from the sky. The aroma of her hair made me think of the scents of heaven. Then she jumped on the back of a horse as the clouds rolled in. The horse then farted, and her smell was gone. The vibration of the horse reminded her of her washing machine on spin. Riding into the forest, she came upon a small cabin. She was weary from her long ride through the forest and decided to stop and enter the cabin, where she could hear music from her favorite band, Insane Clown Posses. Turns out the band was hosting a concert inside the old cabin. I decided to stop for a while and listen. Unfortunately, the only available seat in there was next to the nasty but yet little bit tantalizing old bandit Kyle and his blow-up doll named Fred. Uncle Lisa had an elephant. I can't do that. Uncle Lisa had an elephant-sized long popcorn in his lap. It's a good thing a horse kicked me in the nose and I can't smell because Papa Drew was slinging poop to fertilize the fields behind him. Okay. What in the world? Nightbot, I canceled you. Why are you back? Crystal, I'm sorry. Nightbot is on the loose. I have canceled Nightbot, but Nightbot thinks it needs to still be in my stream. Anything Nightbot does in this stream, everyone, I am extremely, extremely sorry. Kyle just spit his water. That was awesome. Well, that's the story everybody has written this week. Oh my gosh, Nightbot, can I block you from here? Hold on, let me see. Nightbot, you were a bad idea. I am going to hide you. Can I block it? Hiding, does that block them too? I'm going to put into timeout. Their Nightbot is in timeout and blocked. Yeah, the story is a little bit insane. But the last sentence of the story is, it's a good thing a horse kicked me in the nose and I can't smell because Papa Drew was slinging poop to fertilize the fields behind them. So that's our last sentence. And if anyone wants to add to the story, you're welcome to. It will be Nightbot's channel soon. Can't escape Nightbot. No, Nightbot's going to disappear after this stream. Trust me. I will be getting rid of Nightbot. Nightbot is just like, it's supposed to post links in the stream, and it could be a moderator for your stream, but it's being a pain in the butt right now. I'll be back, said Nightbot. That's funny. We have a sentence. To grow those mounds and mounds of... to grow those mounds of the best happy plant the world has ever seen. All right. The Nightbot is savage. Nightbot's going to be the next horror story. Too funny. This is true. We'll get rid of it. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is Burger Chef. I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but Burger Chef is an American fast food restaurant chain. It began operating in 1954 in Indianapolis, Indiana. It expanded throughout the United States, and at its peak in 1973, had about 1,050 locations, including some in Canada. The chain featured several signature items, such as the Big Chef and Super Chef hamburgers. It ceased operation in 1996. It was founded in 1954. Its headquarters were Indianapolis, Indiana. Hardee's took over most of the locations, and the founders were Frank Thomas and Donald Thomas. So, I don't know how many have heard this story, because I didn't even know that that was a restaurant. Apparently, you could add your own toppings to your burger. Kind of like a Fuddruckers, but a McDonald's version of Fuddruckers, from what people have told me. Oh, New Horizons worked at a Burger Chef. That was her first job. Cool. there's still one Master Chef restaurant with the actual statue in front of it in Mankato, Minnesota. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, Superman. All right. Well, let's read about the murders. So on an autumn night in 1978, four fast food workers vanished from their shift. 41 years later, police still don't know who killed them. The call from then this is an article I found. I'm just going to read straight from the article because it puts all of it in just the article. So the call from dispatch crackled across Indiana State Trooper Jim Kramer's police radio. It was early on the morning of November 18, 1978. Four employees had gone missing from a burger shop in Speedway, a town about 12,500 on the outskirts of Indianapolis. It didn't sound like a typical hold-up case. Late-night fast food robberies tend to fit a simple pattern. Get in, grab the money, and bolt. Why risk taking the employees? Kramer figured the kids would turn up, shaken but alive by dawn. But by the next morning, they still hadn't been found. Words of the disappearances rippled out throughout Indianapolis and its suburbs. The Indianapolis News blasted the story on its front page. 4 missing after Speedway robbery. When Kramer showed up for work, his commander filled him in on the latest. The missing, Jane Fredette, 20, Ruth Shelton, 17, Davy Davis, 16, and Mark Fleemans, 16, had been abducted between 11 p.m. and midnight. They had been driven down into Johnson County, at least a half hour away. Whoever took them had pulled off the main road onto a lonely gravel path in the woods, the kind that local teens might have used as a makeout spot. There, they were murdered. A couple who lived a few hundred yards away from the site discovered the bodies 2 days after the abductions. Ruth and Danny lay face down, side by side, just off the gravel path. They'd been shot multiple times in the head and neck. Jane's body lay 50 to 75 yards away. She'd been stabbed twice in the heart. The knife blade broken off inside her chest. Mark was the farthest from the others and the closest to the main road. He was on his back near a creek. He'd been beaten around the face and left to choke on his own blood. To this day, no one, including Kramer, who would pour years of his career into this case, knows who did it or why. Promising leads have sprung up in the public eye and behind the scenes, only to fade away for lack of proof of credibility. Kramer still thinks about the case every day. Why would someone kill 4 kids, Kramer asked. That doesn't make sense. Older residents in the area remember details. Ask around and a few will tell you about the bloody crime scene that never was, or remind you incorrectly that the bodies haven't been recovered to this day, or tell you it's unfortunate that the murderers were caught. Many others believe the cops know who did it, but never had enough evidence to take the case to trial. Locals frame the Burger Chief murders as the moment Speedway lost its innocence. As so, the killer or killers have been mythologicalized in various forms. As the victim's drug-dealing brother, a gang of robbers with a taste for burger joints, a cold-eye rapist, true crimes enthusiasts both in Indiana and around the world see a case with lurid potential. The Australian filmmakers Adam Kamen and Luke Reiderman are producing a documentary on the killings, featuring Kramer as one of their primary interviewees. 2 Speedway locals, Chris and Allie Davis, delved into the case in the first season of their 3C podcast. The hit comedy podcast My Favorite Murder devoted an episode to Burger Chef. Ashley Flowers of Crime Junkie, a podcast that skyrocketed to 18 million downloads over 2 months in 2019, covered the case in the series Red Ball. She too interviewed Kramer. Kramer will often say he's not sure there's a point in talking to so many people about the case. He's become uncomfortably... Sorry, my dogs are going to bark in a second. He'll become uncomfortable putting himself out there, uncertain whether yet another interview will do any good. But once you get him talking about the Burger Chef murders, it becomes clear why he's stuck. In my day job, I cover the retail industry. Stories about trends in the grocery industry or big box store employees tend to be clear. A tip leads to a flurry of phone calls, emails, maybe a dense packet of documents. You amass the evidence, ask for a comment, wrap it all up in a tidy package, publish, and move on to the next story. Ideally, your destination is in sight. All you need to do is get there. When I learned of the Burger Chef murders, I felt drawn to the confounding details. The inexplicit kidnappings, the 3 different modes of killing, a series of false leads and missteps in the investigation. The futile search for a clear pattern became addictive. Kramer, in some ways, has been consumed by the addiction for decades. On a drizzly October day in October, Kramer, a bald, white-bearded man just shy of 6 feet, drove me around Speedway, a town now home to just over 12,000 people. The town hugs the western side of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Meandering through the checkered flag-dotted suburbs of the greater Indianapolis in his blue Ford pickup, Kramer pointed out places potentially linked to the murders. A great creek, a flooded quarry, and the empty field where a cheap motel once stood. Whenever he got turned around, he would whistle a series of quiet, tuneless notes. "I don't think I'm obsessed," he said in his low, flat voice as he looked at the rain-slick road ahead. "I think I'm concerned." Kramer, 68, refuses to embrace some flimsy answer to the mystery. That would be a disservice to those 4 kids. Instead, he likes to toss things around, names, motives, and ideas. He does this with me on the phone at dinner and driving around the locations associated with the case on a drizzly day in Indiana. The juggling never leads to a concrete, confident statement, just more questions. Eventually, on that October day, we pulled up to a tobacco store next to what was once the Burger Chef. The one-time restaurant's back door was open, neglected, an invitation to come in, but the retired 27-year-old lawman declined. That would be trespassing. The building stands unoccupied. Recently, it housed a payday loan operation. There's still a metal plate in the ground where the drive-thru menu once stood. He then drove about a half hour south of the restaurant to Timber Heights, a leafy, tucked-away housing development. He looped around the whole subdivision, which encircled a clump of forest. "None of this was here," he said. He searched for something resembling the dark tangle of trees he remembered from the crime scene photos and pulled to stop at a patch of grass where Ruth and Danny's bodies were found. Kramer has visited the murder scene many times, most recently with the Australian documentaries. He tried to recall where each victim had been found, but acknowledged his memory could be wrong. Kramer wasn't one of the officers initially dispatched to the site, but he did review the crime scene photographs extensively. In black and white newspaper photos of the scene, thin, scraping branches reached onto and into the path. Today the trees are softer, more obliging, their leaves still bright green in the October rain. After driving around for a few minutes, Kramer gave up. He couldn't find the patch of woods that resembled what the victim's final resting place once looked like. I'm doing it by my best guess," he said. In the days and weeks after the discovery of the bodies, 30-some-odd local law enforcement officers from 4 agencies crowded the murder scene. They botched the investigation from the start. Crucial evidence like the employees' uniforms was mishandled. Tom Davidson, an early investigator, told Insider, the Speedway police allowed the burger chef to open the next day rather than closing it down and preserving evidence of the abduction. There was also something odd about the police photos taken at the burger chef from the night of the abduction. Kramer said he didn't remember which officer spotted the little details, the thick ice cubes glinting in Janie's soda, the dark shadows and rays of sunlight. As it turned out, the pictures were taken when the Speedway police initially responded to the crime scene. Instead, the officers returned to the restaurant and staged things after the fact, after the restaurant had opened and had customers in it. At the time of the murders, William Bergen served as assistant to Speedway Police Chief Robert Copeland. Speaking on record for the first time, Bergen, who eventually became chief and retired in 1990, said that by 1978, the force was roiled in distrust and dissatisfaction with Copeland. Bergen became police chief after the town fired Copeland a year after the killings. After the murders, the community tried to help find the killer and console those who knew the victims. Burger Chief, an Indianapolis-based chain, posted a never-collected reward of $25,000 for information regarding to the information leading to an arrest. Speedway High School 1979 yearbook included a memorial for Mark Flemons. Mark will always remember you, will always remember. Not all the loved ones of the victims were left to mourn their children in peace, though. Stalkers harassed Ruth Shelton's family, and people called the house at all hours and rang the doorbell in the dead of night. As the months went on, the murders began to slip from the front of the Indianapolis papers. Once the leads dried up, the Speedway police left the case to the better-equipped state police. Officers' details in the case returned to their respective agencies. Standing on his front stoop in his undershirt beneath clinking wind chimes, Bergen said he never dug into the Burger Chief murders himself. I was in the dark, I'm still in the dark, and I'm not searching for light, Bergen said. He said he avoided the Speedway today. But Kramer kept going, pursuing leads with Donovan Lindsay, a fellow state trooper who died in 2019. Some of the leads concerned the region's illicit drug trade. One lead surfaced in Indianapolis news story from the spring of 1979. It was the Speedway police had run an undercover investigation into a drug ring thought to be operating out of Burger Chief. The ring supposedly shut down a few months before the murders. An investigation into connections between the drug ring and the abduction murders led nowhere. Kramer and Lindsay continued chasing other leads. Years went by and nothing. Then on March 5, 1981, an agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration and an undercover Indianapolis police officer arrested a 30-year-old man on charges of conspiracy to sell cocaine. His name was James Fredett, the brother of Burger Chief victim Jane. The arrest spurred further speculation among law enforcement and press that Jane had been the target of the killings, with the motive being retaliation against her brother. Frederick denied having anything to do with his sister's murder, and beyond the speculation and theory, evidence was lacking. Frederick, who is dead, has never changed in relation to the killing. Later that spring, a prison counselor called Kramer and Lindsay, by then the only 2 officers still working the case, with news of a jail yard squabble at the Marion County Jail between Frederick and a 24-year-old inmate named Alan Pruitt. Pruitt, a scowling redhead fellow, and had apparently taunted Frederick with a simple condolence. Sorry about your sister. Frederick had been interesting to Kramer and Lindsay, but now they wanted to hear from Pruitt. Pruitt told the officers that on November 17, 1978, he'd witnessed 2 men abduct the victims in an orange van in Jane's white Vega. Drunk and swaying outside the Dunkin' Donuts next door, Pruitt figured the men, Timothy Wallaby and Jeff Reed, were just some young people heading out to party, even though, as he had told Kramer and Lindsay, he also saw a red Slam. Mark Feldman's face, and he had also saw Reed slam Mark Feldman's face into the side of the van. Willoughby and Reed, Pruitt believed, were the murderers, but he didn't put the theory together until the day after the killings. He said that on that day the two men rolled up to him in the same orange van he'd seen the night before as he played frisbee outside of Dairy Queen in Avon, just west of Speedway. They offered him a joyride and a joint. Pruitt was happy to accept and clambered inside the van. In the back of the van, Pruitt found Mary Ann Higginbotham, Willoughby's girlfriend. Pruitt thought she seemed high. The van rumbled away from Indianapolis up through a rural stretch of Putnam County. Between hits of a joint, Willoughby and Reed pressed Pruitt on what he saw go down outside the Burger Chief the night before. Pruitt was confused. He hadn't realized they'd seen him. As they drove, Mary Ann rambled. She talked about how Willoughby and Reed had murdered the Burger Chef crew and how they would kill her to keep her quiet. At that point, Pruitt said he hadn't even heard about the missing employees. Reed drove the van down an isolated dirt and gravel road known as Devil's Backbone. He pulled to the side just before the truss bridge spanning shallow of the rocky Deer Creek. Everyone got out. Mary Ann looked at Pruitt and told him to run. They're going to kill you too, he recalled her saying. So he ran. According to Pruitt, he slid down the embankment and splashed across the creek. He didn't turn around when he heard gunshots. Hours later, Pruitt made his way to the road and hitchhiked home. Given that Mary Ann's body was discovered stuffed in a barrel and no trace of Willoughby was ever found, Pruitt's story seemed at least credible. Over the course of 1981, Kramer heard Pruitt retell his story several times. To him, Pruitt sounded scared and believable. But in the decades since, Pruitt's story has fallen apart. Speaking on the record for the first time, Pruitt told me he couldn't be sure whether it was Willoughby the night of the Burger Chef abductions or not. In interviews with Kramer and filmmakers Kamen and Reiderman, he has changed his story many times. Most recently, in an interview with Insider, he said he saw a van on the night of the abductions, but not the victims. His tale about running away from the Devil's Backbone, also untrue. I did lie to the cops one time about some stuff because they really pissed me off. They just started bugging me and hounding me and pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. I just got to a point I finally just started telling them anything they wanted to hear. Kramer denied Pruitt's allegations of the police harassment. If I knew who killed them kids, don't you think for a split second that I wouldn't rat them out, Pruitt said. Because I would. After the Willoughby Reed lead went nowhere, Kramer and Lindsay continued working on the case. Outside work, life went on for Kramer. He and his wife Jackie had 2 children. He shopped for groceries and balanced household budgets. He made sure to get out to visit his aging parents as often as he could. On the afternoon of January 9th, 1989, Donald Foster, a convicted rapist, sat at a table in a wooded paneled room in Marion County Sheriff Department headquarters. Across the room, the camera pointed at Foster, recorded an interview that followed. In the video, which I first viewed last fall, Foster lit up a cigarette and periodically sipped from a paper cup. Then he clasped his hands tightly together and began to talk about the night of the murders of the Burger Chief. He told the police he was involved in a drug gang. The murders, he said, were a hit over a debt Jane owed. When he and his accomplice rushed the back of the restaurant's back door that night, Mark tried to play hero. Foster and his accomplices nearly beat him to death, while the other kids were bound with wire and forced into a waiting van. They were all begging. That night in the woods, Foster said he popped some Demerols, stooped down with Ruth, where Ruth was lying, and shot her in the face. Then he stabbed Jane low down, with his hunting knife. This wasn't the first time Foster had confessed. In 1986, he confessed to the Indianapolis Star reporter Dan Luzerdon. Marion County's department found it striking that Foster could lead detectives to the remote and rural murder site. After a length of time, it just seemed like for sure it was the right guy. He knew a lot of things that weren't public. Hello, everyone that's coming in. Sorry I'm not reading chat. The story's a lot longer than I thought it was. From the early days of the investigation, Foster had been a potential suspect, a name whispered into the tip line. He had lived in Speedway for a time and attended high school near the murder site. His cousin and accomplice in the rape case, Dale Dawson, worked at McDonald's down the street from Burger Chief and lived in the American Inn across the road. And then there were the bullets. Acting on a tip from Foster's ex-wife, the police found .22 caliber casings in the septic tank of the couple's home. When news of the 1986 confession broke, Foster certainly seemed to fit most people's idea of the violent murderer. He was 7 years into a 95-year sentence for stalking, abducting, and raping a woman in Castleton in 1979 with Dawson. But new evidence suggests Foster privately denied his own confession. In a previously unreported letter written by Foster shortly before he died in 2006, he thanked Steve Nation, the prosecutor on the rape case, for having me locked up before I did kill someone. Another letter accused a relative of telling the police that Foster was the guy who killed those people at the Burger Chief. He sent a last letter to his victim in 1979, Castleton Crime, who had escaped by jumping out of Foster and Dawson's moving car. I want you to know I love you with God's love, he wrote. 3 years after his first confession and subsequent recanting, Foster would attempt to confess again. He would later recant his second confession too, for reasons that he likely took to his grave. Kramer got wind of Foster's initial 1986 confession and drove down to Marion County Jail, where he had been moved from the Indiana State Prison, to sit down with him. He was like any other inmate that's trying to con you. He was just throwing out generalities. I see elephant and horse stuff in the chat. Has Nightbot been acting up, anyone? I haven't been watching chat. I'm sorry. Kramer didn't believe Foster's account of the murder. He pointed out that one of his alleged accomplices had been in jail in Minnesota on the night of the murders. No, it's not acting up? Okay, good. The Marion County prosecutors ended up siding with Kramer and the state police and sending Foster back to prison. The Star published Foster's confession anyway, along with his mugshot. Some still believe Foster is the man who got away with the Burger Chief murders. Today, Kramer says he is confident that Foster's confession was a lie, though he is reluctant to take anyone off his list for good. Even after all the lies sitting across from Foster in 1986, Kramer felt a twinge of concern at Foster's final warning, uttered just before the interview shut down entirely. If you send me back to prison, you'll never solve this. At least on that count, he was telling the truth. Foster died in prison in 2006. Speedway old-timers love comparing their town to Mayberry, the fictional town in the Andy Griffith Show. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the town was a safe, happy place full of polite, hardworking people who left their doors unlocked. It was the sort of place that wouldn't give the parents of teens employed at the fast food joints along Crawford Road any pause, they say. In truth, Speedway in 1978 was a town under siege. So, what do you all think of that craziness? I'll put a link to the article in the description if anyone wants to read any of it. The Burger Chef murders aren't fictional. They are actually real. There's so many twists and turns, and they had so many suspects, and then they didn't solve it. And was it 4 people were taken from the restaurant? Like the whole staff that was working was taken from the restaurant. That just blows my mind. They were all taken, they were all murdered, and the case isn't solved yet. That's insane to me. It's insane to me. I don't know how they got them out of the restaurant without anybody seeing them. So, I don't know. I feel sorry for the detectives that worked the case because it's unsolved still, and they had so many twists and turns with different confessions and whatnot. I just can't imagine that. Let me go back up here and see what y'all were saying. That dirty 70 grass probably made him hostile. Spitfire Red, you've never heard this story? Either had I until someone mentioned it to me. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either until somebody mentioned the restaurant to me, and then somebody said that there was stories about murders that went along with it. I was like, what? What's Crystal saying up here? They thought the teens had just left with the money. Oh, originally they thought they just left with the money, Crystal? That's crazy. Happened in 78. The killer would be over 60 now. Yeah, I think there was probably more than one murderer, though, don't you? If there were 4 victims taken from the restaurant, I think it'd be hard to take all of them by yourself. I think there was probably more than one killer. Is there a horse or a washing machine in this story? No, hippie, there's not. This burger murder is crazy. What the hell is Nightbot now? Nightbot was put in timed out and blocked from my channel until I could figure it out. Avenger RV Adventure. The other elephant was... The other story has an elephant. Superman statue. Did someone say a horse? Alright. Here's some more recent comments. It gives a new meaning to takeout, right? There's a theory. Crystal says there is a theory that the murderer recognized one of the employees from a previous robbery from another burger chain. Really? And that's why 4 kids were taken? Gotcha. Here we go. Fatima isn't acting up now, but just got hauled in for a murder spree. They knew it was him because pinned on each body was a note saying, "Your time now." We had a double murder in a restaurant here. It was an in-law it was an in-law that was disgruntled. Oh my. New Horizons. Burger Chef is now Hardee's. Maybe that's why I don't like Hardee's. Hey, Timmy Ray the King. In an ironic twist, many people were almost killed by the crappy fast food. Well, I can understand why the restaurant had to close down, though. I mean, how many people are going to want to eat at that restaurant or even work at that restaurant? even if it's one of the chains from that restaurant. Like, who would want to work there? If the whole staff can just be taken out and murdered all at once, who would want to work at that restaurant? Not I. I'm doing okay today, Timmy Ray. Thanks for asking. So if I could ask my mods to please drop Superman statue Cam's link in the chat. And then mods, if you can drop your own links in the chat, I'd really appreciate that. Wait a minute, what is going on here? You're supposed to be blue. Ah, quit moving. There we go. I just seen somebody that's supposed to be blue and I don't know why they aren't. Okay. Thank you very much for dropping Superman statue Cam's link. If you don't have Superman statue Cam, please go click on that link and add that channel to your list of channels. You'll be able to watch strangers. You'll be able to watch all kinds of people going up to the Superman statue. Right now, I believe it's in the Super Museum. That's pretty cool. It's really cool. And they have ads and they tell you what's going on in the town. It's just really cool little thing going on. So please subscribe to that channel. And then if my mods can please put in their links, I'd really appreciate it. I can't even say what that is. But yes, you are blue. Crystal, yes. July 14th was my birthday. So yes, I just recently had a birthday. I am 25. Or was it 21? Am I 21 or 25? I don't remember. I think we said 21. But if we're being honest, I'm 25. Hey, thank you, Dry Campers. I appreciate that. So did anyone want to add a sentence to the story? 21, 25, same thing. Spitfire Red, it's very nice to meet you. I hope that you have a good afternoon, evening, whatever time it is where you're at. And all of these channels that are dropping their link are definitely worth connecting with if you haven't yet. Definitely connect with them. Dragon Hills, that's not really my age, but that's what we're saying my age is. That's what we're going to go with, okay? Never question a lady about her age. That's awesome. Bob's Adventure had a really good interview today. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, check it out. He interviewed the Crockers. Hope I'm saying that correctly. It's very good. Happy belated birthday. Hope your day was amazing. Oh, thank you, Crystal. That's very sweet. Very sweet of you. I don't know where Mel Nettie Living Free zip code this is, or meant to be RVing. I don't think I've seen their links get dropped. So if one of the other moderators could please drop meant to be and Mel Nettie's links, I'd appreciate that. Oh, there's meant to be. Oh. 1,698 this morning. That's awesome, Bob's Adventure. Yeah, they were in here earlier. They mod for a lot of channels, so I am sure that they get tired. And I always tell them, don't worry about mine. I got moderators in here. Take a break if you need to. So I was just going to have people drop your links for you meant to be, in case you were taking a little break. And then Mel Nitties, too, because I don't know if she's driving home from work. She's busy. She's a busy lady. And then we have about 10 minutes before New Horizons starts. But I think we're going to head over there early, if you don't mind. I'm kind of struggling on getting some air here from reading that long story. So I think I'm going to end just about 9 minutes early. I really appreciate everyone coming in this evening and hanging out with me. Next Sunday, or not next Sunday, this Sunday, we're going to have trivia and rock, paper, scissors. So make sure you come back on Sunday, 5 o'clock Sunday. And if someone can drop New Horizons link in the chat, that would be fantastic. She has a live coming up next. Thank you, KNR. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate it. Wishing you all much kindness and much love. Bye for now.